Hello, very good evening from Malaysia, and welcome to our transformative learning experience conversation. I call this transformative learning experience with the hope the conversation that I'm going to have with our special guest today will inspire us to take action and add value. And this is my first episode, and I'm so honored to have my good friend Harith, who is better known in the industry as the Green Carpenter. Harith is the founder and CEO of the Green Factory and Malaysia's pioneering manufacturer of sustainable wood products. Harith, I know how busy you are, and thank you very much for taking time to be with us. And I first met Harith perhaps, 5-6 months ago, when Harith attended our Train-The-Trainer program, and Harith shared his passion about sustainability. And I got so excited about it. And it's a great honor to have Harith to be our first guest today. Welcome, Harith, and thank you very much.
Welcome, Doctor. Thank you very much for having me. I think for me, I'm quite proud of you as well because you were in my show back then, and then you were saying that you want to do a show, so I offered, right? I can
Indeed.
help you with it, and then now I'm here. So thank you very much for having me.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yes, yes, yes. I had the privilege of joining Harith's show on sustainability on the subject related to his field. And I was sort of introduced with the idea of StreamYard. And I'm so glad that I have Harith as my guest for my first episode. So, once again, ladies and gentlemen from any part of the world, our topic today is something very close to Harith's passion. And I, as a businessman, as a corporate trainer, I realize the significance of this topic. And we call this why focusing on environmental, social, and governance make business sense. Harith, I'm sure our guests here will be excited to get your perspective as the practitioner. And listeners, please feel free to ask your question in the chat in your platform. I'm sure Harith will be pleased to share his vast experience. Harith, before we carry on, can we have the privilege to know your entrepreneurship journey, especially on sustainability?
Um, Thank you, Doctor. I think maybe we can go back how many years? 20 plus years. I think at that time I was 11 years old. So during school holidays, my parents will always bring me to the factory to work. So we have a small furniture manufacturing facility in Sungai Buloh at that time. So every school holidays, I would go there and work. For me, it wasn't that fun because people go holiday, right? And I have to work. But I grew up in the industry and I learned a lot about what's happening behind the scene. And I would go every year until I think uni time. After I finished my study, I came back and joined the family business. So this is when I noticed a lot more about the industry because it's a full-time job, right? So we at that time we focus a lot on manufacturing furniture for the government and also interior projects. So we do large scale interior projects like hotels, schools, and various kind of project. So that is when I learned more of the craft. I learned about woodworking. I learned about interior, and we don't just work with interior. We don't just make the furniture or the wood stuff. We actually do everything. So we do the ceiling, the wall, the carpets, and and the electrical and wiring. So there's a lot of learning there. So I enjoyed my time, and I wanted to know more about the industry. So I studied the market, I looked into the space, and for me, the industry is not really sustainable because we create a lot of waste in the factory, in the site, and all that. Second, the industry don't really seem to care where the material comes from as long as it's cheap and it's up to spec, and then we will just use it. And competition is also very high because Malaysia is one of the largest exporter of food products in the world.
Wow.
So you can imagine the competition inside. So it's not really an easy space to be in. You have to compete in price and all that. So that's what I learned more about the industry. And I'm a green person. I like greeneries, and I also went to military school in on top of a hill. So I also spend a lot of time in the forest. So forest is something close to me, and I didn't like the way the industry operates. And 2012 was the last straw where I come across statistics that Malaysia have the highest rate of deforestation in the world. So I feel like this is the last straw lah, because my industry relates direct to forestry, so I don't want to contribute to this kind of damage. So that's why I decided in 2012 to turn direction of the company to be towards being more sustainable. So right now, we the way we operate is we take the sustainability or the circularity concept and put it inside of the company. So we not only look at the material, we look at the glue that we use, the coating, the packaging, the design, and we try to make each process cleaner. And we've been doing it for 10 years now, more than 10 years, and we've sent our products to more than 20 countries. So this is where I am right now. We are expanding the business, and we are right now fundraising. So we are getting investment from various people, and also right now we're doing ECF. So ECF is equity crowdfunding, where you can invest as minimum as 250 in the company. So I wanted this round to be more of a community round where we have more people that believe in the cause to participate in the journey. We have a lot of activists, supporter, followers, even our customers that wanted to be part of us. But normally, to invest in a company, you have to invest a lot of money. But right now, we are doing an ECF round where we want to encourage all the people that believe in sustainability and um, know that it's the future, and they wanted to invest in something that contributes to making the world better and at the same time make money. So this is why right now I'm doing a lot of networking and also engaging with investors to be part us in this green journey.
Wow. Wow. What a journey. At 14 years old, you already have hands on experience in the
11,
manufacturing.
Doctor, 11.
11 years old. Wow. And of course, I know that your school and top of the hill very well. Right. Okay. And unfortunately, you mentioned we are among the highest in terms of deforestation. Before we go into the topic, Harith, can you tell a little bit uh, what why should our audience, the listeners here, worry about deforestation? And I'm so happy that with 250 ringgit, we can be part of the cause for being more responsible, especially for sustainability, environment, and so on. Can you share what is the consequences or significance of deforestation?
I think most of us know in general why forest is good. But I think a lot of us don't see the direct implication, because when we talk about forest deforestation and all that, it seems so far to us. So we don't see it as much as it's not something urgent, but actually it is. I think right now we are doing better than before. There's a lot of effort being put, but of course there always need to be more and more things that we can do. So in general, I think people know already that we need to preserve the forest. We know the benefits of the forest. But right now, what we want to focus on is what we can do, not what the government can do, not what NGOs can do. It's what we ourselves. Right now, we believe in green, we support that, but what are we doing about it? Are we contributing to it? Are we supporting it? Or we just let other people do? So I would want to put more emphasis on what we can do rather than what other people should do.
I really like that. Yeah. Take ownership instead of blaming others or giving excuses. I love this idea. What one person can do, what an organization can do. Right. And Harith, allow me to share the topic once again with our audience, especially. Why focusing on environmental, social, and governance make business sense, or commonly known as ESG? Can you help us to understand from your practitioner's perspective what does this ESG means in a layman's term?
Right now, because I find a lot of benefits of having sustainability in the middle of the company, I think before I answer that, I give a backstory a little bit of why I'm
Please.
doing this. So the first decision to do sustainable, it's about the environment, right? I've shared with you. But after a while, after a few years of doing this, we are seeing a lot of benefits of having this inside of the company. So one, we reduce our costs, we improve our margin, we create new revenue stream for the company, and right now we're having a lot of talented people that want to work with us. So these benefits, when I see it, these are not environmental benefit, this is business benefit. So right now, instead of sustainability uh, helps the environment, sustainability now becomes our competitive advantage. It becomes a business benefit. So that's why I decided there's so much misconception around sustainability, because people think that to do sustainable, it requires a lot of costs and so many things now. That's why a lot of businesses don't want to deal with it as much. So I decided to pick up activism, to share what I'm doing, to work, especially with businesses, to how more businesses can adopt sustainability. So that's why I consult a lot of company. I'm active on LinkedIn, and also working with few companies in terms of getting them to be more sustainable. So when I work with all these company, so this is to answer your question. When I work with all these company, there's too many um, things, especially in terms of the definition. There's so many definition. There's so what actually it is. That is what my struggle as well. When I first started to do green furniture or wanted to do, I don't know what green furniture is. What is it? No one has ever done it. So how does it look like? Sekarang ni, now it's you know already, and a lot of people more know. But at that time, like, what is it? So I try to research and I try to see what people are doing, and then I saw one or two that is doing maybe just changing slightly material of the product. Let's say from the table, maybe they change the tabletop a little bit to a more sustainable material, and then they say it's green. So for me, I think it should be more than that. So that is when I look into it, we experiment, we do a lot of different things, and then I found out like it's actually the whole process. So that's why we look into all the things that the company is doing during the process and during operation, but at the same time looking at the stakeholder that's involved. So when we right now we run a proactive green system. This is a system that we developed for sustainable manufacturing, where we look at all the process and also we work with all the stakeholder. So we work with the community, we work with the media, the industry, the government, and various other in terms of getting more buy-in for sustainability. So, in order to define ESG ni, I'm not qualified to define. But what I can do, or I normally do, is put it in a simpler context. So, ESG, sustainability, security, or everything, there are specific thing, but what it encompasses is, for me, I look at sustainability as something good for the long run. So it not necessarily mean environment. It's not necessarily mean like the social. So whatever you operate, how is it be as less impact as to the environment? How it grows its talents in a way that is not what do you call it? Menindas. It's not menindas. How you can operate in a clean and a transparent way. So all this element of a good business, this is where ESG comes in. Because we supposedly, technically, if we let the market on its own, right now it focus a lot on profit maximization. So people always think about money, 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 money. So the ESG, or there's like now social enterprise, there's sustainable business impact companies and all that. These are companies that are trying to consider other things as well. Doesn't mean that they stop focusing on profit, but also they have other consideration. So to operate an ESG company is to operate as profit maximizing, but you have other consideration as well in terms of the decision making, so that the company will operate and run good for the long run. Hope that
Nice.
helps.
Definitely, yeah. You made this whole very, very complex scientific system. So how do I say? I could digest it in one statement. Yeah, good for the long run. A good businessman or a leader, they don't just focus on tomorrow's profit, but long run. And when you talk about my friends, menindas is our bahasa Melayu term for abuse, right? And it's not secret. In 2021, one major Malaysian company from Johor Bahru, a major supplier for Dyson, came in the paper for a wrong reason. They abused some of the foreign employees, and it went to the press, and Dyson cancelled hundreds of millions worth of contract. More than 8,000 employees were affected. And this news even appeared in Reuters, besides major other newspapers. And because of that, some of the Malaysian companies went through more stringent assessment in terms of social compliance, environmental impact, etc., etc. So Harith has brought a clear business sense. Having said that, Harith, many businesses will be crying. Even I haven't had a chance to go through the budget, but every time there's a budget, they will say, oh, cost of doing business is tough. I'm only an SME. I'm a startup. I'm struggling even to pay bills or pay my salary. Harith can talk lah, the kind of thing. I guess this is part of the ignorance, yeah? What, in your opinion, why should SMEs or startups, even in a financially challenging environment, pay attention to sustainability? I'm aware that you mentioned about the value of sustainability for your business, but for the benefits of those who are still reluctant, or those who are using financial challenges as an excuse, what would you tell them, Harith?
So I work a lot with companies and people, and those are the valid question to ask, and I like to answer that question whenever I receive it, because like initially said, there's a lot of misconception of sustainability or ESG. One of it is the cost, and of course, traditionally when we talk about sustainable manufacturing, people always think about solar panels, machines, expensive material, and there's so many certification and all that. So that is where a lot of company are afraid to approach this. But for me, I would say that by doing it bit by bit within this more than a decade, I found like the best is seeing this not as a destination, but as a journey. So one, it helps you in terms of you don't have to solve everything in day one. You take time, because what you are doing or what you're building is something. You are not building a business to be in business for 1 or 2 years, right? It's always how it can last as long as possible. So what I'm seeing ESG can do is be part of the journey. So what it means by that is, like for me, how I do it is I put sustainability in the middle of the company. So it makes decision making slightly easier. For example, when it comes to a time for us to buy a new lorry, so then we will look into the options and which are the most energy efficient, which is the more sustainable, low maintenance and all that. So okay, then we whenever any expenses that gonna occur in the future, we will consider the decision plus the ESG kind of implication. So it supplements what you are doing. It makes it easier. Right now, one, because it's an ethical way to do business. Second is there's a push for it. In terms of government, there's a lot of policy in place. There's a lot of demand side from the corporate. Just to share with you, our company's revenue for green products last year increased almost 600%, mostly
Wow.
from corporates. So we are right now quite near full capacity. I think almost full capacity. That's why we are fundraising to expand the business. So that's what when I talk to businesses, this is the right time to do ESG, to do sustainability, whatever. Maybe 10 years ago it's difficult, but now this is the time. One, tadi, there's demand. Two, there's support. And the third, there's very little player. So competition, like for me in the furniture space, it's a red ocean. So we have to like compete who can do the lowest cost, who can make it the cheapest. And it's difficult because how low can you push your salary? But that is the reality of a red ocean, right? So by jumping into the blue ocean, it's called a blue ocean strategy. But for now they are saying green ocean. So whatever lah. So by jumping into this space, there's very little fish. So even though you're small, you still have a lot of space to grow and to eat. So for us right now, our niche is sustainable woodworking, wood products, and there's a lot of demand for it, and we are catering to it. So right now, we are lucky to work with Coca-Cola, Rolls-Royce, Ferrari, Canon, Acer, to name a few. So this is what I benefit of doing ESG, and this is what I'm sharing why businesses should pay attention to ESG, not just because of it being ethical, but it also means that it's being profitable.
Wow, wow. And I'm so proud that part of Malaysian suppliers are contributing to Rolls-Royce. Look at the brand and compliance and meeting that level of standards, that level of stringent quality. That is a reflection. Perhaps you can expand a little bit. What are the consequences when people ignore or claim to be ignorant about sustainability? Because sometimes as a business owners, driving costs down and struggling to pay salary and compliance, fulfilling something merely for the sake of compliance, I'm sure many will agree. When we do that, we won't reap the benefits. And people like Harith, who are practitioner, who are ambassador, who are involved even selecting the vehicle, selecting the suppliers. This is the type of commitment. So, Harith, for those who are still a little bit doubt if ESG is good for business and not taking enough initiative to learn about it. In Bahasa Melayu, we have a phrase, we said, tak kenal maka tak cinta. In English, what it means is, you don't love what you don't know. So I'm glad people like Harith is giving awareness to the community. So for those who don't have the awareness of ESG, what are they losing, Harith? You spoke about the benefit. Let's hear about the pain now.
I think there's two things. One is the opportunity lah. You will, because what's going to happen is eventually most product needs to be sustainable. If you look at developed countries, a lot of their products are already sustainable. They have this certificate, this whatever they have, and for us in this region, if you want to send our products there, if it's not sustainable, then we cannot even enter. So we cannot even take the opportunity there. So eventually, the demand will also go through to this area as well. So what's going to happen is whoever don't do sustainable, even right now, today during the budget, also there's few green initiative as well. So if you don't take this initiative, it will be like digitalization. We used to think like website is not important, but right now everyone needs to be digital present, right? And if you don't have digital present, then you will suffer lah. So that will happen to companies that don't comply with regulation. So one, you'll be phased out, and then the second one is the opportunity right now. It's like it's a something. Okay, I'm just gonna put it in about my industry. So Malaysia have been very strong in terms of woodworking. We are the top 10 manufacturer of wood products for the world. One of it is because we focus a lot on mass production and OEM. Okay, so we focus on cost. So we've been really good at that. But now countries like Vietnam are going up above us because they can produce things cheaper, and the cost of labor and all that are a lot cheaper. So that's why a lot of investment goes there. So if we still keep on focusing on that market, then whoever have the lowest price will go there lah. So you cannot really compete in terms of lowering cost. So what we are trying to do right now is, instead of just focusing on cost, we add something. You add sustainability, you add design, you add other element of value that can get us becoming more competitive. So this is where ESG can help. So it helps by giving the company a purpose. And right now there are buyers that buy into purpose things. And this is where you don't want to miss. You don't want to be irrelevant. Second, miss the trend. And this is one of the trend that we can enter early before it's too late. Like digitalization, a lot of people have done it, right? And then you want to start to go in. Right now, we are at the very early stage of the wave. So don't ignore it, be part of it and contribute, because this is not just how we make money, but this is also how we make Malaysia a better country.
Wow, this is how we make Malaysia a better country. We wish to hear more good news about Malaysia in the international press, including people like Harith, who are committed for sustainability. Harith, before meeting you, I was going through your LinkedIn profile, and I understand you were graduated from Nottingham University, one of the prominent university in the country. Did you study sustainability there?
No, I took management study, but I think sustainability has always been part of my life, but actually it's also part of our culture. So I'll just share about my life. So I grew up like previously in a lot of forest. I do a lot of forest activity. But at the same time, in my house, my grandmother, I live with my grandmother. She will always, whenever there's rain, so she will always have a pail, and then to give the garden. And then we have a huge garden last time. So all the stuff like the bottles, the broken blender jar she will use in the garden as pots and all that. So I grew up in that, and as well, I see that contributing to why I see sustainable is something important. And when I dig deeper, it's embedded in our culture. Like our forefather, they design houses that are cooler, so that they need um, aircon or something like that. They rainwater harvest. They bring food from home, and then in like containers and all that. So there a lot of sustainable practices being done by our forefather, but because of modernization, we think this we see what our forefather doing as something that is not modern, right? So we adopt modern material, modern practices, but actually we forget that it's always been there. So it's not a Western concept. A lot of the time, what I see people say, oh, sustainability is a Western concept, blah, 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 blah. It's actually have been in our culture. So that's why I see it right now as if we want to move forward, we also need to look backwards and see what else we can bring with us so that we can grow or move in not just in a one way kind of thing. We are bringing as well our culture, our stories, and also our beliefs in the process.
Wow, I really love that. Yeah, if you want to move forward, it's good to look backwards. That's fantastic. That I love your perspective about learning about sustainability, recycle, being green from our grandparents. That's simply beautiful. Yeah, the whole idea of cooking, using recycled items in our garden, harvesting rainwater. The terminology, our grandparents may not be aware of the terminology is called harvesting rainwater. But what's the point in using big terms when we are not a practitioner? Whereas our ancestors, ancient wisdom is so sustainable. And I hope more people know about the wisdom in the ancient architecture, like what you said, wooden house and how they design it to be more uh, environmental friendly, that we are not dependent on air conditioned. Whereas so-called modern building, if you don't have electricity for a couple of hours, everybody will start striking, perhaps, yeah, because without air condition, life is almost unbearable. So that's the wisdom of the old wisdom. Nice, nice, nice. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking to Harith, better known as the Green Carpenter, entrepreneur who is so passionate about sustainable. Harith, I met you for our Train the Trainer program. And when you first mentioned about your background and how you grew up and then started working for your father's factory, and then so committed in educating others. I guess that's the reason, being an entrepreneur, that you wanted to join the Train the Trainer program, for example. Can you tell me, how do you inspire your employees and other stakeholders, including suppliers, to be at least half as passionate as you are in terms of sustainability?
I think it's always a personal thing. So to get that conviction or to understand or wanted to be part of it, it needs to come from internal. And normally what comes from internal is understanding what is it in for you. So that's why like when I approach businesses or people, it's always about like not what is it gonna do for the environment because it's extrinsic. So, but what can it do to you? So, when we talk to different kind of people, we have to talk in their way. So we have to empathize. So when I choose business community as my activism space because I see there's a lot of people doing work on the public side. For the business side, there's very little people, little practitioners or people doing this space. So I focus on that. So when you talk to business people, it's always about the bottom line. So that's why I share about how I reduce my costs, how I improve my margin, how it's helping me getting people talents in. So these are the problem that other companies have. So they empathize. So when they empathize, then they can try to see because there's going to be three option whenever we talk to someone. One is the option I give you. One, you don't do anything, you just do business as usual, you just compete, you just do lah whatever. Second is you try to find other ways to differentiate yourself to do apa, but you have to do the work lah, there's a lot of work. And three is you actually try the sustainability because right now I'm sharing you how can. So there's less work for you to do rather than finding something else that might work for you. So that is when we talk to business people. So when we talk to policymaker, like recently I was invited to help contribute to making more furniture for the government more sustainable, this kind of thing. So when I talk to them, it's more about different things. Um, Cost might be one of it, but also the image of the country. For example, if we can make all our school furniture sustainable, we will be one of the few countries in the world that have that, and we can be proud of it because we want to achieve, because we say that we want to achieve certain like zero carbon or whatever SDG and all that. So these are the things that can benefit the country's image and also get you to the SDG goals that you want to achieve and all that. So that's when you talk about when you talk to employees, for example, then you have to say to them what are the benefits. So for me, each one of them can only relate or buy in once they know what benefit them. It's human nature. It's not wrong, but we need to empathize. So that's why for me, because I'm a business person, so I empathize other business people. Because normally when activists or consultant talks to them, it's always like you're doing this wrong, blah blah blah. This other company doing that, so it's always in a negative knee, and you don't really understand the struggle. So for me, because I understand, so I share the pain and I share also the solution. So it helps them. And then when that is when I say to companies, when you want to do sustainability, you don't do everything at one go. You do bit by bit, bit by bit. Maybe you don't even touch the product yet, but you look at your processes. You go paperless, for example. This is part of digitalization, but it also is sustainable. And you look at the waste, for example, the waste that you created, how you can monetize it, how can you like for me, I have a lot of wood waste. So I look into it, what can I do with it? So I made a lot of small items. And one of the things that we make is this. So this is a phone holder,
Ah,
phone stand. Okay. This phone stand is, we made it using our small wood pieces. And now this is one of our best sellers. We sold thousands of it, including to Coca-Cola and big companies as well. So just by wanting to reduce our waste, we create new revenue stream. And right now it's one of our best sellers.
wow.
And to start, because this is a off-cut material, right? So this excess material. So the cost of it is already been borne by making the big item. So there's no material cost in making this. It's only labor cost. And the savings that we get, we pass to the consumer because we want to make green product more accessible to the mass. So right now we have few products under 50 ringgit where people can buy and give gifts and all that, among other things. So that is a little bit of how I talk to stakeholder, especially businesses. And yeah, so we do that with all stakeholders. You
Wow,
customize to
wow,
them.
wow. Yeah, business and being a teacher, I was so touched when you mentioned about using sustainable products in the classroom. So instead of talking about sustainability for memorizing for exams and writing about sustainability, it's such a brilliant idea to embrace and practice sustainability at school. Create the future leaders who are practicing sustainability, practicing the values related to that. I hope the policymakers in the Ministry of Education and other government agencies will continue giving this kind of support. And allow me to say hello to some of our good friends here. My friend Fitri, thank you very much for all the help. I noticed Turairaj, Segaran, Shamala Mary, my good friend Ali Imran. He is an expert in checking facts. He will be doing this, I believe. Ali, thank you very much, Fitri. Ali Imran, Shahida, thank you very much. Our good teacher, Pauline. Both of us are Popcorn alumni. Glad to have you here. Dr. Hazrul, thank you very much for joining. Commander Asri, a fellow Royal Malaysian Navy officer who just successfully completed commanding a major warship in Malaysia. Thank you very much for joining, Commander Asri. My inspiration to do this program is another good friend, Malar. Thank you very much, Malar. I'm a big fan of your show. And I'm glad to have Kashish Dungar all the way from Mumbai. I met her for one of the webinar and I realized Kashish is doing her postgraduate work related to environment, sustainability. And I hope, Kashish, your friends in other part of the world get to know what great job Harith is doing and introduce Malaysia to India. There could be something we can learn from each other. Harith, what a wonderful. And my friends, if you have any question, you like Harith to share his wisdom, his hands-on experience, his passion, please share in the comment section. Harith, being in the industry of training, yeah, I always emphasize talent is the greatest resources. Even great countries, they're not necessarily having diamond or gold or petroleum. Yeah, some of the countries with rich resources in Africa, diamond, petroleum, good land where we get oil palm originally from, they are struggling. Whereas some of our neighboring countries with almost zero resources, they are doing well because of talent. I read some article related how ESG is attracting talent, how ESG is retaining talent. Can you tell me your experience or experience of your other stakeholders, how commitment to sustainability attracts talent? And let me emphasize, talent is the most valuable resources anybody can have. Your view, Harith.
Agree. I think one of the thing that I see in for my company or people investing in our company, it's they're not just investing in me. Normally people invest in founders, right? But for us, our strength is in our community. So it's in our people in the organization. So my industry is one of the largest in the world. Malaysia exports more than 160 countries. However, a lot of the workers in the industry are mostly foreigner. So there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, I wanted to see how I can get more young talent to be part of industry because if you guys don't know, a lot of talents don't really go into my industry because it's considered a 3D industry, dirty, dangerous, demeaning, or difficult. So I wanted to see how we can bring more young talent to the industry. As of now, we have 45 staff. 90% are local, 80% is below 35. and 80% of our workforce have diploma and above. So it's a educated workforce. We have Dean's List kids, we have master student, we have award winners, designer that wanted to be part of us. Not necessarily we give the best salary, but I think it's the opportunity in the industry for them to grow as well. Because normally when you talk about the timber industry, it's always something that is traditional or boring. But that is when we decided, in order to attract this young talent, you need to make it more enticing. So we've done a lot of different things, and so it's not just the ESG part that is contributing to the getting the talents, but it's one of the reason as well. Because when people come to work with us, at least they know that whatever they're doing contributes something to making the world better. So that is how it works with me, and we are still getting a lot of talents that wanted to be part of us. But of course, we can't really take all. So the idea is we want all these smart kids to go to various other companies as well, especially companies that have a cause behind it. And right now, what I'm seeing for Gen Zs, sometimes the pay is not the only thing. They like growth, they like purpose. So by having the ESG part in your business, it helps with getting them in. And maintaining them is also another thing, but it is also contributing to that. But in order to do that, you have to do it in a genuine way. A lot of the time, there's issues of greenwashing where people just do the bare minimum and then say that they're sustainable, which a lot of companies are doing that because it's a trend, right? But right now, consumers need to become more aware, need to ask better questions in terms of when they want to consume. So the best way to, or the easiest way to contribute is to change a little bit about what you do. Okay, you don't have to go on the street to protest and all that. You can do that, but the easiest is actually doing the same thing what you do. For example, you need to buy uh, a pen. So you buy a pen, right? So you need to buy a pen. But if there is one pen that is more sustainable, I say sustainable, not more expensive or something like that. Because sustainable can be expensive, but can also be cheap. So if you have the sustainable alternative, you are doing the same thing. You want to buy a pen, but just by changing what you are buying, you are contributing. So that's why we need companies to operate in a way that they understand how sustainability or ESG work and they implement it company wide. And then we have the buyers that are asking this kind of question: Are you really sustainable, or are you greenwashing and all that? So the demand side will also be matched with the supply side. So both sides do their work. So eventually we will have a better outcome.
Nice, nice. Very, very comprehensive idea about both managing both the supply and demand. Harith, you mentioned the word dirty, demeaning, and dangerous, yet you are educating, or rather, you are attracting quite a well educated people. And I really congratulate the younger generation, hearing from Harith himself, that they are passionate about purpose, they are passionate about values. And this is a great news for our country. And I'm glad that many youth are having purposeful, uh, purpose driven rather than merely going after the money. Of course, money is very, very important. But when you are mentioned about purpose, that's very, very promising for our future leaders. And what while we are having a lot of foreign workers, sad story is there's a lot of hundreds of thousands of unemployed graduates. And professionals like you, professionals like your colleagues, when they are interested or they are passionate about so-called dirty, demeaning, and dangerous employment, and you just showed the opportunity available, even from so-called the waste product. It's a best-selling product for keeping your phone, and great companies like Coca-Cola are subscribing to that. So, what would be your advice to unemployed, educated community, the graduates who are perhaps after listening to you are inspired to explore opportunities in this field? What would be your advice to them, Harith?
I've been talking to a lot of people in this 5 6 years, and I met a lot of students as well. And I always say to them, whatever you're doing, engineering, marketing, or whatever, look into how you can get sustainability element into some of your modules, because right now we are seeing the hottest job on LinkedIn in a lot of especially in Malaysia ecosystem is sustainability officer, head of sustainability. These are the hottest job. It's more hot than IT right now. If you don't believe, you see all the LinkedIn listing, a lot of them because there is a demand for it and there is a need because the government are pushing for more sustainability, and these corporates needs to get it sorted, so they need to find all that. So hopefully whoever listened to my advice few years ago is now reaping it. But it's still the same for everyone right now. Either you're studying or you're starting a journey, try to see how you can add sustainability in whatever you're doing. If you're engineering work, maybe try to attach with the sustainability project or initiative. If you are in the education, for example, try to see how the one that you are teaching, how can it be related to sustainability, civil engineering, building, interior, how you can look into green space. Because this is uncharted territory. When you talk about uncharted, there's so much opportunity, but at the same time, there's so much learning in this space. So if there's one, there is a space. Second, if you start doing something in the space, you're already ahead than a lot of your colleagues. So now is for you to explore, because when you're young, you have to do as much as possible. And when you talk about sustainability, it's so huge. Right now, we're talking about mental health and sustainability, cultural preservation and sustainability. There's so many other things that contribute to sustainability. So, if you want to take the opportunity in this space, just experience it. Just find your opportunity, because a lot of this you can't learn from school or from teacher. You have to like do something. So in whatever field you want to go, you can go, but try to look in the sustainability space.
Wow. What a great advice, especially to the younger generation. I'm sure within 45 minutes or so, Harith can't share all his decades of wisdom, but you can know where to look for Harith. Just Google for the Green Factory, and I'm sure you will have wonderful information. Harith has given the perspective for community members, for leaders, for business owners, and the youth, the leaders of the future, why sustainability matters. Harith, before we end this conversation, I'm sure, I hope, entrepreneurs who were ignorant, who may have assumed that sustainability is a cost rather than investment, sustainability is a business opportunity rather than the burden, sustainability is merely compliance rather than opportunity. What would I hope some of the listeners are inspired with your great stories, how you expanding the business, how are you giving opportunity for more educated community to come into the so-called what do you call, let me refer that, no, so-called
3D.
3D, dirty, dangerous, demeaning. you know this is ignorance, yeah. So for business owners who like to explore these opportunities and start sustainability initiative, what will be the most practical advice to the leaders, to business owners, to board members, to the politicians, policymakers? What would be your advice?
I think before I share the advice, I just share a thought lah. For me, of course, I've done a lot of different things, but there's so many things that I'm unable to do. Because right now, what I'm trying to do is how I myself can live as sustainable as I can as well. But there's so many things, and I cannot do everything, and it's okay. So same as you guys, there are things that you can do, and there are things you cannot do, and you don't necessarily have to go out of your way to actually do something, but there are things that you can control. There are things that you can contribute. So look into those things. So when I talk to businesses, I say see it as a journey rather than a destination. So design, if it's business, it's design your business into something that have meaning. Like for me, one of the things that I realized or why I do this is one of the nights I was thinking, okay, if I die when I'm old, how would I see my life? It's one of the questions I've been asking last time. And because certain facts of life, for example, like working, you need to work, right? You can't not work unless you're a trust fund baby. But technically, everyone have to work. Let's say you work 40 years of your life. So I feel like, okay, how do I want to see my job? Do I see it as just about making money, just about fulfilling your responsibility and all that? I feel that it's I don't want to waste 40 years of just doing that. And I decided, okay, I want to see my life, at least however years I work, is contributing in terms of making the world a little bit better. So that what helps me in terms of designing my business. So it's more of a personal. So for you, I think you have to see what do you want this business to be for you as owner lah. This is as owner. Like for example, I like to travel, so I design the business to do export, so I can travel and do business. So same as organization. If you're owner, then you can design the business to be able to match with your qualities or what. For me, I consider it as a selfish because this is what I want. This is what I feel good. So for you, you have to find this is as owner lah. But as organization like C-suite and all that is how the business can operate, how the company that you run can contribute. It's not just contributing to the stakeholders, but also more than that, to the people around you, the nation and all that. So find your reason and do what you can do. And we are not asking you to do everything, but of course, if you do bit by bit, sikit-sikit, lama-lama jadi bukit.
Wonderful, wonderful. Sikit-sikit, lama-lama jadi bukit is the phrase in our local language to say, start small, it will grow. Harith, you have given us so much of clarity, so much of meaning, so much of purpose for the reason of doing business. You can do such a wonderful contribution to the environment, but more importantly, perhaps it also make business sense, make it purposeful life, and adding value and creating an impact. You have given us so much of clarity why focusing on environmental, social, and governance make business sense. My dear friends, on behalf of all of you, thank you very much to Harith, and you can always Google for Green Carpenter to know more about Harith initiative and how you and I, and perhaps the entire world who is committed on sustainability, can learn from Harith. Once again, thank you very much, Harith, and I wish you all the best in achieving your passion. And I'm so proud to have you as our fellow Malaysian, as a great entrepreneur. Thank you very much. And friends, thank you very much for joining. and we look forward for the next series in transformative learning experience in 2 weeks' time. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Doctor.